In the end, all we have is our reputation. We hear that all the time. But do we actually know what our reputation is? The truth is, we don't think about it all that much unless somebody asks us. We just assume that it's pretty much like we want it to be. But the reality is, how we would describe ourselves and our reputation isn't what other people would do. So there's a standard interview question that many of you may be familiar with. It goes something like this. If I was to ask your friends or colleagues for 3 questions that would describe you, what would they be? This isn't such an easy question, at least it isn't for me, and it sets off an internal conflict that goes something like this. Just imagine the little speech bubbles here. And it starts with, what would they say? What do I want them to say? What would I say about myself? And what does the interviewer really want to hear? There's always going to be a gap between our reputation and reality. It's just inevitable. But to own our reputation, we have to address it. So that leads me to think about, how is our reputation built? Now, there are many ways. The first is word of mouth. These are the stories that are told about us, and sometimes they're told by people who actually know us. And then there are those that are told by people who don't know us. I think that's called hearsay or playing telephone, and you know how that changes as you go around. Then there are all the ways that we represent ourselves to the world. And these range from the silly to the serious, right? There's TikTok, and then there's Instagram, and then there's Facebook, and then there's LinkedIn, and then there's our resume. All familiar. And what you may not realize is that any individual can also put out information about you. That comes in the form of endorsements, for example, on LinkedIn, for skills that you may or may not have, or may not be qualified for or even care about. Then we go off to Facebook, where we friend people who really aren't our friends. And we like people on Instagram or Facebook or any social media. And the truth is, all those connections add up to our reputation. And it can have a real impact and effect on us. It's why we get emails from LinkedIn, right, that recommend us or tell us about jobs that we either are not qualified for. I've gotten plenty of those, as I've gotten them for jobs that I have absolutely no interest in whatsoever. Our problem is that we're in a world where it's all about the quantity. We were told that we need to have 500 plus connections, otherwise we're not valuable and worthwhile, and we want to have as many likes and followers as we can. So there's another consequence to this. Do you remember all these companies that would spend lots of money with influencers? Pay them so much because they had 1 million plus followers, and they all thought that those influencers would get their followers to buy the company's product, only to find that none of those followers bought. So that's social media for us. That brings me now to the third one, which is the dreaded performance review. This is the review where the company calibrates us as humans in a committee as if we're cogs in a machine. By the time that performance review is finished, it bears almost no semblance to who we are. And it leaves us wondering where we stand. The problem is that performance review travels with us in the company, and it forms the basis of our reputation. The thing is that none of those things get to like who we are and what our values are and whether or not we made a good contribution or whether or not we'd be great on this project or that project or coupled with this person and that person. So to meet that challenge, we now have assessments. We are assessed out, and those assessments are designed to tell the company our values and whether we'd fit in to the company, whatever fit in means. I mean, what happens to the world where you want conflict, you want conversation? So does that mean you fit in or you don't fit in? What would we be like in different situations? They all promise that too. And forget the labels they give us that travel with us wherever we go. But they don't work. And if they did, then people skills, which are what these assessments are really designed to get at, because performance reviews don't, social media doesn't, they don't work very well. If they did, people skills and our ability to interrelate with each other wouldn't be one of the leading reasons why people don't work out in their jobs or why people leave their jobs. So the problem is with our reputation that's built is that none of it takes into consideration the humanness of all of us. And if we can't figure out a way to be more than just an individual data point in a technology world, then we don't really have our reputation. Sounds sort of simple, but it's not. And it leaves us with what data scientists would call gigo, where there's garbage coming in about us and others. We want to know what other people are like, not just us, and garbage coming out in terms of our reputation. So that kind of leaves me thinking about what does it really mean not to be passive about our reputation and actually own it. And the first one is to think our reputation doesn't come to us. We have to act to shape it. And the first part of ownership is to take responsibility for what's out there on us. Ownership means curating all the things that technology puts out into the world about us. It means that we don't have to accept every LinkedIn invitation and connection that comes from somebody we don't know or who only knows a person who knows us. I'm sure many people we're peppered with this all the time. Connect with this person, they know that one, just connect. But we don't have to do that because that forms part of the fabric of our reputation. We can change our Facebook profile. We can unfollow people. And we can begin to understand the people who follow us. It really matters because just remember, in a world of 0 and 1, technology out there knows who you don't know who all these people are, but technology does. And it is forming connections and decisions about you based upon people you don't even know. So connections and likes from people you have no contact with are worth nothing. We need to think about that. We have to fight the urge to follow what society and technology says, which is more is better. We have to get comfortable with this. And it's hard when we're constantly being told quantity matters. Then it's how we behave. We have to behave like what we want our reputation to be. So if we want to be known as a team player and a collaborator, it is not enough. And I want to mean schoolmarmish when I say this. It is not enough to contribute in a meeting. Being collaborative and a team player means we recognize other people's contributions. Think of the last time people did that in real time and in public, and what that would say about the person who recognized others, and not just the boss or the most senior person. A reputation for being late can be changed into a reputation for being on time. One meeting, one lunch, one deadline at a time. It's hard work, but it can be done. Change is slow and consistency matters. Now the thing is, technology is really good at structured data, but we humans are by nature unstructured. We want people to know who we are as people, and we want to know who other people are. It's the most important thing. It's the essence. It's not about an individual skill. We want to figure out a way of knowing, is the person that I'm talking to or I'm going to meet somebody who's creative and unconventional and really pleasant to be with? Or are they prickly and ever so reliable and trustworthy? Is the person really serious, or are they laid back and laissez-faire? This is what we really want to know. And we want to know, we want our reputation to take into consideration the fact that we grow and that we change. So what I want to leave you with is to think that curating, owning our reputation isn't just about curating the information that's out there about us. It's also about all of us finding a way to get to our humanness, the things that make us unique. And I would argue, in a world where technology can scrape any piece of information from anywhere, it can then repackage it and disseminate it far and wide. It is incumbent upon us to come up with a solution for this and to be really mindful and participate in making sure there isn't garbage going in, and that means we don't like people we don't know. We don't recommend them and endorse them for skills we don't no idea that they actually have, because in doing that, we are contributing to the problem for them so that we can make sure that we don't have a garbage reputation coming out. And I would argue that this is vitally important to us, to all of us, and to society. Thank you.